Hey Joe, it's Folks here. I started my first print-on-demand store in 2016. Since then, I've also worked with a lot of different people. So far, people that have gone through my training have made about $5 million in sales. I recently started interviewing some of them here on my channel. If you want to check those out, the interviews are there. And I share that just to say that I have seen a lot, not only with my own print-on-demand stores, but with working with others. And in today's video, I want to share the #1 thing that will make or break your print-on-demand store. In addition, though, I also have 4 other things that we're going to break down. These 4 things ultimately are going to dictate a lot of your success as well. We'll also cover one of the things that a lot of beginners think is really hard, but it's actually the easy part. And then we will jump into the #1 thing that will make or break your store. And if you're just trying to get started and you want to follow some step-by-step training, I do have a free course. It's called POD for Dummies. There's a link down in the description. Inside, you're going to get access to over 30 step-by-step videos showing you how to build your store. Our first thing is your niche, and we need a niche because that's what gets people interested in your stuff. It's basically the connection for them to decide to be in a shopping mode. A lot of times beginners get started with print on demand and their store is doomed from the beginning because the niche they've chosen is not going to actually be something that people will actually purchase merchandise for. For example, these designs here don't really represent specific niches. They're basically abstract designs that someone has created that they think look cool, but ultimately there's no niche here. Stuff like this here does represent a specific niche. I've shown this on the channel before. These are products for people that are teachers. A store like this is also selling to specific niches, people that are police officers or firefighters or in the military and stuff like that. This store here is selling to lots of niches. If I hover over the menu button, you can see that they have reading products, fishing products, camping, gardening, farming and traveling and boating and yoga, nurses and teachers and sports and a whole bunch more. Basically what I'm saying is one thing that'll make or break your store is whether or not you are actually creating designs for specific niches. The second thing is choosing the right products. Ultimately, your product is what creates desire in people to buy. If you're just selling something random, or if you're just choosing typical products like a t-shirt or a mug, and you're not leading with something special on your store, you might just get a lot of likes and comments and not a lot of sales. Companies like Printify have literally over 1,000 different items that we can sell, everything from lots of really unique apparel to kids products and different things for the home. I've done a lot of different product review videos here on my channel, so I'm not going to dive too much into a lot of different products, but mainly I want to advise against choosing random products to become the star of your store. For example, let's say that you built your store around napkins and table runners, and maybe if we scroll down, maybe some more napkins and tablecloths and lunch bags and things like that. These are sort of low demand items, which means if you have them on your store, people may just window shop them but not actually impulse purchase them. Next up is your design, and this is what people are paying for. And we need to make sure, like I said before, that your designs represent specific niches. Now, one thing that means is to stay away from abstract things. I showed you an example of that before, but the key here is to actually work with a designer if you don't have the skill to actually make your own designs. Earlier, I mentioned my free Print on Demand for Dummies course. I do have some videos in there where I detail the process of how you could hire a designer and ultimately not spend hundreds of dollars in the process. This is a print-on-demand store that was shared inside of my print-on-demand Facebook group. There's over 80,000 members now. If you want to check it out, there's a link down in the description. But the reason I'm showing you this is because you can see these designs here don't have that really professional look to them. They kind of just seem like things that someone threw together with not a lot of graphic design experience. If we scroll through them, you can see just by looking at them that they have issues with colors. They're also just sort of off-center in certain cases, like this phone case here. The text and the graphics are just a little bit too close to the right hand side and it looks a little bit sloppy. They're also just basically very plain text with a couple of different clip arts added into them. One way that I categorize this in some of my print on demand training is that you want to avoid making designs that look like they were made inside of Microsoft Word. That means avoid using only clip art and very basic text that looks like it was just typed out inside of a Microsoft Word document. Obviously, your store is of huge importance. You need to make sure that your homepage reads like a brochure, meaning that you just have a little bit of information, not too much, not, too little either. Just basically something to showcase some of the things that you do, what's special about you, stuff like that. Simple and clean is going to be the best. I'm going to show you some good examples and some bad examples in a moment. And ultimately, if you're someone that does not have a lot of graphic design experience, don't create graphics that are out of your league. We just took a look at this store here with some of their designs. I also want to reference them when it comes to store brand. You can see the colors they've chose kind of clash a little bit. They've got purple text up at the top. They have this neon blue as well. As we continue to scroll through, you can see lots of purple text being used. Also, purple is being used on their buttons. They have a blue button here with pink text inside of it. And basically, all of these colors are sort of clashing together and making the store feel a little bit cheap. I don't know if this is just me. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Something like this looks much more professional, much more put together in a great way. It's called crossandstripes.com. As we scroll through, we can see that it feels clean. We can see that it feels like it is a real brand, that it is credible, that it is a store that is looking the part. And basically what I'm saying is, even if your store has no sales, you can make your store look the part by making sure you have really great product images, that you have a good flow to your homepage, that you use colors in a great way. Here's another example. This store has an awesome banner at the top. They've also chosen some really great fonts to use in here in the header image, as well as up here. The fonts look clean. As we continue to scroll through, we see really clean mock-ups as well. We have some great collection images right here. We have some info about reviews that people have left, and even some more product images down below. Another example of like poor brand would be something like this here. We have a banner at the top where the person that created the store just kind of took a bunch of their different mock-ups and threw them around. And this is kind of what I meant by trying not to create graphics that might be out of your league. And I'm not trying to be discouraging or anything, but this graphic here is basically an attempt at creating a great header image on the store, but it came out a little bit lackluster. And again, I don't know if this is just me, if this is just my assessment. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As we continue to scroll through, we can see that these collection images have these really dark red colors on them. We have a really dark red down here in the bottom as well. If we go to the product page, we have some more issues with colors as well. You can see some of these red buttons over here that have gray text on them. It's basically hardly legible to even see. The red, I don't think stands out that well, and ultimately I think what we have here is an example of a store that feels a little bit outdated. If I continue to scroll through, you can see that this store kind of just looks like it was built in 1995 or something. It doesn't feel like a credible brand. It feels a little bit like a product directory rather than a destination for the readers that they are trying to serve. Everything that I've shown you so far is the hard part of print on demand. Choosing a niche, choosing a product, making a great design, and building a great store. And ultimately, the easy part is what a lot of beginners view as the hard part. What I'm talking about is your marketing. So many beginners think that if they could just have the right marketing strategy, that it'll work for their store. And if you don't do some of the things that I talked about earlier correctly or well, then ultimately no amount of marketing will ever save you. Right now, people spend over 145 minutes a day on social media on average, and getting them to your store is very simple. If you want me to do an entire video where I kind of break down a social media plan, type the word social media on this video. If it gets a lot of comments, I'll put a video like that together. Ultimately, my messaging here is that good marketing won't save bad stores. I see dozens of Facebook comments and YouTube comments on an almost daily basis of people talking about getting hundreds of people on their stores, lots of views, lots of visits, but no sales. And a lot of times that's due to not doing some of the things I talked about earlier well. Here is the thing that will make or break your store. What I'm talking about is if you're getting into print on demand for the wrong reasons and you're treating it like a lottery ticket. A lot of people are starting print on demand because they want to make money quickly. They want to make money in an easy way. And they want to spend basically $0 of their own money to actually do it. Print on demand success cannot happen with any of those mentalities. The fact is that this is a real business and you need to treat it that way. If you don't treat it like that, it will break your store. The reason is because you'll be looking for shortcuts at every turn to get rich quick. And if you are not taking the time to carefully put together great products, great niches, great designs, a great store, if you're not spending money where it makes sense, ultimately you're not building a real business. You are building a slot machine that you're hoping that when you pull the lever, it generates a lot of sales. This is what ultimately leads to a lot of people getting burnt out and then quitting print on demand because they see it talked about on YouTube as this awesome business model and they view it as easy. Here are a few indications that you are treating this like a real business. These are things that I always try to keep in mind with some of my stores. These are things that I tell to beginners that are getting started with print on demand, and hopefully it will help you to treat yours like a real business. The first thing is that you are managing expectations. You don't want to get into print on demand and expect an overnight success. You have to be willing to almost put things out there with zero expectations of people buying them. If people don't buy, treat it as a learning experience and try to figure out why. Another thing would be your willingness to actually invest some money on this. Now, at the end of the day, I've made videos here on my channel a lot talking about how you do not need millions of dollars or thousands of dollars to get started with print on demand, but you should have something on hand to pay for different subscriptions or a different software that you might want to use to help you to run your business. You might also want to at some point order some samples of your products, using your samples as a marketing method, taking photos of them or videos, or even just using them to take really professional photos on your store is a great thing. Quite literally, you could grab your phone and your product and put it on a table and take a really nice photo of it. You don't have to be a professional photographer or anything like that to create good images for your store with your phone and a sample. All I'm saying is you have to be willing to do some of that, because if I'm being honest, a lot of the products that I have sold really well because at some point I decided to order a sample of them and use real photos to sell them. The third thing is that, again, you're treating this not like a get-rich-quick slot machine, but as an actual business. And what I'm saying is sometimes people spend some time watching YouTube, maybe going through a course, maybe posting a lot in Facebook groups, and they basically get to the point where their store is ready and they launch, and then they don't make sales, and they make a post in a Facebook group or on a YouTube video, and they basically say something like, I have been running my store for the last 3 weeks, I have no sales, what did I do wrong? And that question, while it's probably pretty innocent, but that question is a great indication that someone is not treating this like a business. What they're almost implying is that you can be successful with this business model by following an instruction manual. Now, I have a couple of young children, and a lot of times I am putting together toys and different things for them, and there are instruction manuals. If I follow the steps and then I get done with the actual project, putting whatever it is I'm putting together, and it doesn't come out right, me asking what did I do wrong makes sense, because there's likely something in that instruction manual that I did wrong, and if I go address that thing and then I basically look at what I have, it's going to be right. That is not true with print on demand and building a store. There's not like one setting that you can change or like one step that you missed that as soon as you change it, all of a sudden you have results. Oftentimes I have related this to you building a machine. A print on demand store is not a machine. Once you put it together and turn it on, you can't just expect results. You're building a real business, just like if you were opening a restaurant. If you opened and no one ordered food, it's not like you did something specifically wrong with like what you hung in the entryway or something that you did on your menu. Like ultimately you've created a restaurant that people do not want to order from. And there's likely something that you can identify that's going to be a glaring reason to why they're not buying. Just like I talked about earlier, your niche, your products, your designs, your store brand. A lot of times people that are not making sales have made major errors with those things. And in some cases, they need a complete overhaul in order to actually start getting results. So here's the message. The one thing that will make or break your store is if you are not treating this like a real business, if you have a get-rich-quick mentality, if you are desperate, if you are frantic, if those are you, if you're doing any of those things, then this is a business model that you should stay away from. I don't know if that will make me popular or not, but it's true. Ultimately, you need to treat your print-on-demand store like it's a real business. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.